Welcome back. So glad you are joining us as we continue to look at Luke chapter 2. Jesus has celebrated the Passover with his disciples. He has said that one would betray him. He told Peter of how Satan wants to sift him as wheat. In other words, struggles are going to come to him greater than the others. And now we continue with this Thursday evening of Holy Week. Let's read through verse 39 through 46. And Jesus came out and went, as was his custom, to the Mount of Olives, and the disciples followed him. And when they came to the place, he said to them, "Pray that you will not enter into temptation." And he withdrew from them about a stone's throw and knelt down and prayed, saying, "Father, if you are willing, remove this cup from me. Nevertheless, not my will, but yours be done." And there appeared to him an angel from heaven, strengthening him. And being in agony, he prayed more earnestly, and his sweat became like great drops of blood falling down to the ground. And when he rose from prayer, he came to his disciples and found them sleeping for sorrow. And he said to them, "Why are you sleeping? Rise and pray that you may not enter into temptation." As Jesus and his disciples gather at the Mount of Olives, is what it is called by Luke. Garden of Gethsemane is what others call it. The garden was on the Mount of Olives. As they gather here, he commands his disciples to pray that they will not enter temptation. In a way, this prayer is for himself as well. As we look at the mental anguish that he feels, it's amazing. He is human after all, and while he is true God, true human, and while he has not sinned, he still struggles with the emotions, the anxieties, the knowing. And remember, this is all part of that foreknowledge of what was going to happen to him. And we see his prayer. "Take this cup from me. Not my will, but your will be done." Knowing of what was going to happen, he prayed that it might not happen, but yet deferred to the Father's will. Second of all, we see that his sweat was like drops of blood. There was a medical journal article that talked about what this was and talked about all of the suffering of Jesus and why they did what they did and what this was caused by. The great stress actually caused vessels to burst, is what they think, causing him to have some sweat like blood. And final thing that shows that great mental anguish is that God sent an angel, the Father sent an angel there to strengthen him in his difficulty. And what were the disciples doing while Jesus was in anguish? They fell asleep while praying. And Jesus gives them that same command. "Rise and pray that you might not enter into temptation." A great prayer for all of us as well, that we will not enter into temptation. Let's continue verses 47 through 53. And while Jesus was speaking, there came a crowd, and the man called Judas, one of the 12, was leading them. He drew near to Jesus to kiss him, but Jesus said to him, "Judas, would you betray the Son of Man with a kiss?" And when those who were around him saw what would follow, they said, "Lord, shall we strike with the sword?" And one of them struck the servant of the high priest and cut off his ear. But Jesus said, "No more of this." And he touched his ear and healed him. Then Jesus said to the chief priests and the officers of the temple and elders who had come out against him, "Have you come out as a robber with swords and clubs? When I was with you day after day in the temple, you did not lay hands on me. But this is your hour, the power of darkness." The arrest is what we see in this part. Judas leading the crowd there. Betraying Jesus with a kiss. The disciples try to fight back by cutting off the ear of one of the servants, but Jesus steps in. this isn't what he desired. He stops the disciple, stops that chaos. He heals the man's ear, brings things back to the way they were, and then he confronts the chief priest. And his confrontation was, why are you arresting me here? If I was doing wrong, if I was leading the people astray, why didn't you do that in the temple, which is your area of oversight, right, as the chief priest? Why were you doing it there? Well, he knew the answer. He knew that they feared the people, and that's why it was done here. But Jesus points out a greater reason. But this is your hour and the power of darkness. The symbolism of the power of darkness, of the power of darkness is great. It's not just that he was free of the crowds here, but darkness is a symbol for evil, showing that they were doing evil to Jesus and to the world, not what God's desire was. Even though they were fulfilling God's plan for his son, what they were doing was truly evil. We're going to finish this section or this chapter tomorrow on the arrest of Jesus and the beginning of the trials. So invite you to come back, and then we're going to start with 23, which is more the passion, the suffering, and the death of Jesus. Then on, I guess that'd be Friday. Come back. We'll see you tomorrow. God bless.